Salutations everybody, this is IgbarVonSquid making a splash, and today I'm going to teach you how you can turn any image into a two-dimensional avatar in VRChat. Very simple, you don't need any modeling experience. We're not going to be using Blender, we're only going to be using Unity. It's not going to take you very long, super simple process. First thing you're going to need is your actual picture that you're going to be using. I'm going to be using this picture here. Your picture does not need to be transparent. It can be any image you want, any meme you can think of, anything like that, that's fine. But for the sake of doing kind of the hardest type of model, I'm going to be including transparency in mind. But again, doesn't need to have transparency. I'm just going to be using it for the sake of tutorial, and because I'm sure most people are going to want to be transparent. The second thing you're going to need is you're actually going to need the VRChat account. You can't use your Steam account. You need to have a VRChat account, but obviously you still have to play it on Steam. So just go to their website, vrchat.net. You go to login over here, go to register, make your account. You don't need a tutorial on how to do that. The second thing you're going to need is you're going to need to go to the developer FAQ. Scroll down to what's the deal with the SDK, and this little red thing here is a download link. So if you click that, download pops up, and you save that wherever you want to save it. Save it somewhere where you can find it easily, so that'd be in your documents on your desktop, because you're going to need to find this later. Once you have this downloaded, don't run it. You just save it somewhere. You don't need to do anything else with it for now. I already mine downloaded, so I'm not going to download that again. And you also need the correct version of Unity. I believe the current one is patch 5.6.3.1. I don't actually know what this P stands for. Patch, I guess. You can get that from this link here. That should also be in the description, unless I forgot. Download it for Windows or Macintosh. I'm running a Windows. Also make sure that you're downloading the 64-bit or the 32-bit. I believe that doesn't matter right here. And that's all you need. Those two things, or three things, I guess, because you need the account as well. And your picture, mine is transparent. One thing to keep in mind for your picture, by the way, you're going to make your life a hell of a lot easier if you do something like this. Let's see, image, auto crop image. So this way, the image completely fits into the window. As you can see, it's touching there, touching here at the tail, touching there on the edge. That's actually kind of, probably should have chopped that off, but that's whatever, it doesn't matter. So just auto crop the image, because we can use math later to keep this aspect ratio, because it's going to come out as a square in Unity. So I'm going to overwrite that. And now we're going to want to open Unity to actually start this process. So I'm going to open up Unity. It should not take very long. It did not. You're going to come up with this screen. You may actually need a Unity account as well. I don't remember. You might be able to use it without one. I guess just make an account just to keep your stuff easy. Gonna want to make a new project, or maybe not. You can just do it in any project, new scene, whatever. I'm gonna call this one a Woo Chibi. Save it wherever. I like to put my stuff in my 3D objects folder, because modeling stuff can take up a lot of space. Good to keep it organized in one place. Let it do its thing, and wow, here we are in Unity. Very fast. But what's not going to be fast is that we need to load up the VRChat SDK that you downloaded. Remember where you saved that, because if you can't, you're not going to be able to do anything else after that. So come up here on the top left to Assets, Import Package, Custom Package, and then locate where you saved your thing. I think mine was in 3D Objects. Here it is, VRChat, yada yada yada, that's the thing. And then it's going to decompress, and then you're going to have this lovely little list here. I'm going to import all of this. You can save yourself some time by taking out some of these. I don't remember which ones. I think there's some music ones in here that are quite big that you can just get rid of. I personally just import everything, because you wouldn't really want to have to re-import something if you accidentally took out the wrong thing. So I'm just going to import that. This step is probably going to take the longest in terms of downtime, because it's a pretty big file. You're going to be here a little while, so just sit down, get snuggly, and I'll get back to you when it comes back up. Alright, so once your SDK loads up, you're going to get this new folder here called the VRC SDK, short for VRChat SDK. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have a sense of scale and direction for your avatar, because if it's pointing the wrong way, you're going to regret it. So we're going to go to VRChat SDK, open it up, examples, sample assets, third person, and there's gonna be this thing, the sample avatar. Drag that up into this left area here, And now we have a point of reference to work with. Hold on, make sure these are all at 0 and the scale is at 1. That is how it would appear in game if you were to turn this into an avatar. So your avatar that you're going to be making is going to want to face this way, away from the camera. You're going to want to have about yay high, yay flat. So just good to have that reference there in case you get lost, yada yada, make sure it's good. Second thing you're going to want to do after that. So next thing after that, you're going to want to make a 3D or created empty object. You can do that by clicking over here, right click, create empty, and then it's probably going to be somewhere not where you want it. You know, look at these crazy numbers, you don't really want that. You can just click this gear up here to reset. That'll put everything to 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and now it's exactly where the sample avatar is. You can probably just move this guy to the side for now by clicking on him on the right here, or you can click him in the view. Just move him out of the way for a little bit. We don't quite need him yet. Rename your game object if you want. I would recommend it. I'm going to call this a woo chibi. I'm going to call that VRC. Because this game object, you don't really want to touch this. It's just kind of, it's a little weird to explain, but basically any rotations and positioning that you apply to the next few objects will not be read in VRChat. VRChat will always read these as being position 0, 0, 0, rotation 0, 0, 0. So to get around that problem, we're going to want to make this game object. So with this right-clicked, or highlighted, right-click it, 3D objects, and do a plane. And now you'll see that there's this little arrow here, and you know it is under that 3D, or I keep saying 3D, empty object. Now, if it's not, if it looks like something like this, where you just have a woo chibi, or your game object, and then you have your plane, you can just drag that onto the plane to fix that. And make sure that this plane is also at 0, 0, 0, you know, 1, 1, 1, yada, 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 no one cares. Make sure that's all good. Alright, so now you're going to want to import your picture. You can do that by right-clicking down here and doing import new asset. Or alternatively, if you have your folder already open, you can just click and drag it in. Both do the same exact thing. Click your image and then set repeat to clamp and apply. Kind of weird to explain, but basically the picture has a bunch of other pictures next to it. So if you don't do that, you're going to kind of see the pixels coming in from the previous image. You'll know it'll look a little wrong when you do it. So if your picture has no transparency or anything, you can just click this and drag it in. And that is perfectly a-okay. You're pretty much all set on that front. But our image has transparency, and you can see that right now the image is definitely not transparent. And we can confirm this. This was transparent. This was not. And that's the exact same image. So we're actually going to undo that, and we're instead going to right-click down here, create, and put in a material, rename this material to whatever. I'm just going to call it Awu Chibi, same thing as the picture. And up here on the top right, you'll see shader, standard, put this to legacy shader, transparent, cutout, diffuse, and then drag, or with Awu Chibi, your new material. I keep calling it mine. Yours is probably called something different. With your material selected, you can drag the picture, your little PNG, into this none texture area, and now it has a texture. And it has a little alpha cutoff thing here. So now, if you drag the material onto the object, you can see, now it's transparent. All nice transparency, but there's kind of this crappy looking edge here. As in, it's not, the image is transparent, but you can still see there's a little bit of weight on the edges. If you don't really like that, you can slide up this alpha cutoff thing here to be more accurate. I wouldn't recommend putting it all the way, because then it looks all blocky. But, you know, somewhere it's a little smooth. Don't put it all the way at 0, because then it's, oh geez, this doesn't look good at all. There's doubles, that's not good at all. So just set this to, by default it was 0.5. I'm actually going to increase that. Let's say 0. I'm actually going to manually input 75, because that's 3/4. And yeah, that's looking a little bit better. The edges don't quite look all that great, but that's just because my my job of making this transparency was not the best. And now we need to make this plane here. We need to put this, I'm actually going to rename this plane, by the way. I'm going to rename it to front. just so you don't confuse it for later on. You'll know why later. We need to actually make this just like this guy who's standing up facing the right way and is, small. Because right now this is a big floor pattern. If you try to export this, it would tell you this is too damn big. You can't do that. So you kind of need to scale this down, but you also want to keep the aspect ratio. You don't necessarily need to. You can kind of do it by sight, but I like to keep the aspect ratio, and that's why I did the auto cropping so that the image was exactly the size of the image. So I'm going to come back to my image up here, actually. And if you keep your mouse hovered over it, you're going to see dimensions 313 by 381. Let's see if I remember that. Bring up my calculator once again. 313 divided by 381, was it? 313, 381. Calculator, 313, 381. So if you do this division, you'll get this equation, or not equation, you'll get this number. And this number can then be used to keep the aspect ratio. So right now, this is actually a square. The image has been turned into a square. So you'll want to make this, I believe, the X. Whoops. It's kind of, I need to drag this on my second monitor. Hold on. So I can actually type in this number. I believe that's 8,215,22. You don't really need to go, you don't need to put in all those decimals. It really only goes so high. And now this looks a lot more accurate. This looks a lot more accurate to the size of this picture. It was tall and skinny. And this is also tall and skinny. But it's still really big. So any changes that you make to Z here, Z is going to be your height, by the way. So if you set this to 0.5, whatever. Any changes you make to this Z, you want to make the exact same change to this number. So keep your calculators open if you're following along at home. And now we're going to downscale this, but first we're also going to rotate it. It's just easier to work with like this when it's big, but we actually need to make sure that this is at the correct rotation facing the camera. That's really easy. Rotation, come over here, I believe it's X, and set it to 90. And oh wow, look at that, it's facing the right way. Really damn easy. But now we need to set the scale. So remember, your number, get your number. So I usually first start off by turning this one to a 0.1, and then kind of bring this up a little bit. And then I can see that it's kind of at waist height. I think that's a little too small. So we're going to undo that. Put this back at 1. And I'm thinking it's actually going to be 0.2 might be the height I want to work with. So bring this up. Let's see. I'm not actually sure how much I bring it up. I think I bring it up 1. There we go. And now that's a little too tall. So I'm thinking 1.5 might be more what I want to be doing. So if I set this to 0.5, it's actually way too in the ground. Probably more like, 0.75 is going to be my accurate foot height. Don't worry about that too much. I'm just trying to do it to get the height right. So this is 0.15, and we can figure out what I just did, because that wasn't exactly accurate. 1 divided by 0.15, and we have this number. So we're going to have to divide this number by our lovely other number over here, which is, let's see, 0. Whatever, blah, 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 blah. Divide that by 6.666666. For repeating, I'm just going to put as many 6s as I want. Doesn't matter, because we're going to be rounding. And okay, now we get a good number to work with. 0.12322. So move that out of the way so I can actually read it while I put this in. 0.1232283. All right. And now we can, I'll leave that open just in case I want to make any other changes. So now we can see that if I move this over here, this is about as high and as thick as I want it. She's a little big-headed, but that's fine. This is about as tall as I really want it anyway. The viewpoint I'm going to put at the eyes. You can put it up here if you feel like it. The other thing is you're going to want to make sure this character is actually like touching the ground for accuracy's sake. That's a little hard to tell, to be honest. You can't really figure that out. It's kind of finicky. I think that's sunken into the ground. Usually, it's if you've kept this number something nice and rounded, you can usually kind of figure out whereabouts it is. So for me, that's probably like maybe 0.74 or 0.75. I'm gonna clip it in a little bit, so 0.745. So maybe that little bottom pixel's just barely in the ground. Perfectly all right, perfectly fine. And here's your image, but you're not quite done yet. There's no back. It's completely transparent, and it's going to look like that in the game on the back. Maybe you want that. I usually don't, because then it's very hard for people to look at you. So, we're actually going to add the avatar descriptor, because we're going to have to change around the position of this front part here. So it's easier to just add the back later, where it already has the proper positioning. So, grab your empty game object. Oh, that's all the way over here for some reason. Why is that over there? That's kind of weird. Yeah, that is weird. Okay, if that happens, like it did to me. Oh, that's because I moved it over. That's why. That explains quite a bit, actually. Just set that X back to 0. Don't touch the height. Your height should probably be fine. Also, you can mess with the Z, or put the Z back to 0. Don't put the Y back to 0, because you just got that pretty much perfect, just how you want it. Sample avatar. You can also put that back over here just to get the height right. We already did that. So grab your empty game object. It's a good thing you checked to make sure that it was on the 0. So if you do this, you should not be too far from each other. So grab your empty game object. You'll know it's the right one because it only has a transformation component added. And you're going to want to add a component. And for me, that was the avatar descriptor. I already have that searched. It comes up with a search bar, and you just put an avatar descriptor. Just add that. Don't be too scared by all these numbers. Most of these don't matter. The only things you're going to care about is the view, position. X will always be 0, and Z will always be 0. Those numbers are ignored if you don't have a skeleton, which we don't. We just have a picture. So these numbers are ignored. It's only Y here, and Y is the height. So we're going to want to put this height to I height. So I'm going to say it's maybe 1. Actually, it's even less than 1. 1.9. 1.95. 1.94. Okay, that looks about the middle of the eye. I'd say about middle eye level. Now, again, remember what I said. These numbers are ignored. So even though you might be tempted to say, oh, this is 0.5 or 0.2, and say, yep, it's now correctly centered. It's not. X is completely ignored. X does not matter to VRChat right now without a skeleton. So keep that at 0. And instead, what we're going to do is we're going to grab front here, and we're going to move it so that it appears in the middle. And you kind of have to tab back in and out to kind of figure that out. I think that's about here. Usually, you come up to the top right up here and just kind of round that to some number. So negative 0.2. Click this, and that looks good. I actually want to lower that a little bit. That doesn't quite look as good as I'd hoped. Yeah, that's okay. That's about center of the eyes, I would say. Again, it doesn't have to be down here. You can put it up here, like above. I usually put it down here. Now, if it's down here, you're going to have another problem where anytime you look up, you're going to see the back of your own head. Well, actually, it doesn't matter right now because this back is transparent. But you're going to run into the problem once you have this back texture is that when you look up, your camera clips into your own damn head, and you look up and your view is blocked by your own gigantuan head. You don't have that problem if you set the viewpoint high, but I like to be accurate and put it right at the eyes. So we're going to want to move this back off the center a little bit, which is the Z that you can see is changing in the top right. I'm going to set this to 0.4 or 0.04 because I have quite a big head. So let's see. You can see now that the little ball is floating off the face a little bit. That's about, I'd say, how you want it. And this is quite a big gap, so I think 0.4 is fine. I'll probably still see the top a little bit, but that's all right. It gives you a gap to peer through, kind of like, you know how when you're driving, I don't know if you've ever done this, pop the hood on your car and you realize there's a little gap so you can see through that little gap. A little important lesson there in case the front of your hood pops up while you're driving. So now we're going to give this a back, which is probably the easiest part of this whole process. Just click your front here, Control C, with it still selected there, Control V. And now you have a front one, which I'm going to name to back. But here's the problem. How do you get that back to correctly fit this position? Because now we have 2 of these, right? Your first instinct is going to be to rotate this. So let's say I put this at negative 90. Nope, that's not right. Okay, is it Y 90? Y 180? Almost, but it's different. So that's not going to work either. What about Z 90? 180? Nope, same exact problem. But we can fix that real damn easy by coming over to scale here. And you see this one, just shove a negative on it. And it looks like nothing really happened there. But trust me, you'll see that now when you check the back. Wow, it's got the exact same texture on the back. Let's see that again. Instant replay. At 1, you couldn't see it. Slap a negative, suddenly it appears. How that works, I don't know. It's a mathematics thing. But now you have a front and a back. Don't worry even about the side, because you're so damn flat, no one will even see you. And now, this is pretty much done. Diddly done. Here's your empty game object. This white line indicates where you're looking, by the way, but we already figured that out with this guy. He always looks forward where the thing is going to be. And now we know this avatar is A-OK, all good, ready to export. So now comes the exporting process. Very easy. Come up to this top left toolbar over here, file at assets, blah, blah, blah. Here's VRChat SDK. Click settings. And you're going to be usually greeted by a sign-in screen, looks like this. Unity version, blah, blah, blah account. Put in your username and password. This is why you need a Unity account. Steam account's not going to work. Has to be Unity. So just log yourself in. You'll be all set. And once you're logged in, looks just like this. You can close out of that. So pop this open again and do show build control panel. You're going to see 400 polygons here. Don't worry about that. The limit is 20,000 polygons. We are very far under that. So don't concern yourself about it. What's kind of weird is cubes are 12 polygons, but 2D planes are 200. I don't know how that math checks out. You think it'd only be 2 polygons, but what do I know? So make sure that's all good and checked. Build and publish. And it's going to pop up with a thing to save your thing. I'm going to save mine. Chibi.unity. Save that. You have to save it, because it'll automatically save every time you export an avatar, which is nice and convenient, so you don't lose your work or don't lose your avatar. Let it load its thing, and now the thing's going to start cascading, being a little black, and you can now close out of this little box. You don't need this. And wow, avatar upload screen. But a little problem, she's a little short. And the other thing is, let's say you didn't put your thing at 0, you might not even see your character at all. So, if you want to change this picture here, come back into the scene view, which you can do. You'll see right now game selected. Click scene, and then, move about, and click the VRC cam. And this is the thing that makes the picture. So, you'll see what it'll look like on the right. It's not the same. This is a rectangle. And this is a square, so the picture isn't actually the same between both. Just move that over. Actually, if I remember, the center was at 0.2. Yeah, no, that was actually too far. So 0.15, I guess. I'll scroll down so I get the face. I'm actually going to move the camera in a little closer. And that actually looked really close. Okay. Probably move it back again, actually. I personally like to get it really perfect. You don't need to be this perfect. I just like to make sure it is perfect. But yeah, now you can see that's definitely the avatar. So name it. I'm going to name it a woo chibi, just like I've always called it. Description. Doesn't matter. I've never seen this description ever displayed in game. I've never... You just write whatever the hell you want in here. Just write a woo with a whole bunch of zeros. And you have these little checkboxes here. You should probably click these if any of these apply. Nudity, sexuality, not for me. Blood, gore, nope. Realistic violence, other nuts, nope. Okay, this thing's all pure, 100% wholesome. Perfectly fine for this game. So the only one you really need a check mark is the above information is accurate. I have the rights to upload this to VRChat. Just click that, and then you can click upload. And voila, now your thingy-ma-do is uploading. All the hard part is over. You're basically done. You just have to wait for this thing to upload. This can take a while, depending. It's not always based on the size of your avatar. It's usually based on the time of day. You can see right now in my bottom right corner, it is 4:20 a.m. That was actually a coincidence. But as you can tell, not a lot of people are probably uploading their avatars at 4:20 a.m. So this is actually going fairly fast. But I would imagine if you had a lot of polygons, this would probably take a little longer, but this is going pretty fast. Perfect amount of time to question why I'm making a tutorial at 4:20 a.m., but that's nothing you need to concern yourself with, because I'm not concerning myself with it either. And once that's done, VRChat SDK update complete. Launch the thing to see your thing. Okay, press OK. Ta-da, you're done. You're done, diddly done. avatar is now in your account. You can check that coming up here to manage uploaded content. I usually do this after every avatar to make sure it actually uploaded. Sometimes you have a problem and it won't actually have saved. Usually the first time you open the screen, it doesn't actually display, so just open it a second time. And here we see it, because this is in alphabetical order, by the way, so you see, 2, a number, A, B, and what yada yada. Use that to find whatever you called it. So woo chibi, this is number 2, because it's the letter A. This is all good. It's all in my account. So now we can pop on open into VRChat itself. Just a reminder, while this is going up, don't close out of anything. You may be tempted to be like, yep, I'm done. Close out of your picture editing program, close out of Unity. Don't do that, because if you made a mistake and you have to go back, you kind of want to have it still open to fix it right away, otherwise you're never going to fix it. And now here we are, loaded up into the hub. And now we're going to select our avatar here. And here it is. But we can't really see ourselves very well. There's no mirror here, but you can see what I'm talking about. Where I look up, I see the back of my head, but because I set it back a little, I have a gap that I can see through. So if I look at it just right, it's a very thin line that I can now see the top of. So we're gonna go to the nearest mirror, look for these light pillars in the sky in the hub, and look for this picture of a man. And you can come over here and, oh, look, we're in the mirror. Isn't that nice? Can't really tell how you look from the side, because it's not how mirrors work, but it looks good. The picture's a little low res, it seems, but that's good enough. Hello, small anime child. So this avatar's all good. You can jump. You can't sit down, might I mention. There's no option to sit down. These chairs do work. If I switch avatars, I can sit down. These chairs are working. If I switch to something without a skeleton, sitting down is no longer an option. Also, I should mention this now. Don't emote. If you emote, you get stuck, you can't move, and you'll have to reload your world. I'll actually do that right now. Don't know. Well, oopsie daisy, now I can't move. I'm completely stuck. Button presses are ignored. I can look around. I can see the front of my own avatar. It's broken. Completely broken. You have to reach on a world. Pop open your worlds. Go wherever. I'm going to go quarry the house in the house. And we're loading, and you can see, oh, I can move again. So yeah, don't ever emote, because you'll break. And that's a bad time. So thanks for watching the tutorial how to make 2D avatars. Now you can make your own. Only took you, I don't know, half an hour at most. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.